Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody, to Planet 76, episode 55, I believe?
Yes.
Yes, episode 55. Welcome, everyone, to the show. If you haven't subscribed already on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you're missing out, so go do that. Make sure you guys stay up to date with our latest episodes. Again, this week, episode 55 coming right. It's just going to be a short episode. You know, we got some Sixers news coming up. We got a little bit of Sixers opinions as well. Obviously, Troy here with me as well. So we got some Sixers news. We got some apparent trade talks, not really trade talks, but some rumor mill stuff, some Sam Cassell stuff, current assistant coach for the Sixers, and Troy, you wanna take it away and give a little rundown of what you think?
Yeah, man. So there has been some news, as you noted, in Sixers land. The Boston Celtics, as we record right now, are fighting for their life in the NBA Finals.
Yes.
So, again, that Game 6 will certainly be over by the time this episode is posted, and there may not be a Game 7. Heading to the fourth quarter right now, Warriors up 76-66. So at least that's where we are right now when we're recording Planet 76 episode 55. So we'll see how that pans out. Man, the Warriors... We'll see what happens. Anywho, just thought I'd throw that in there. So today we're going to talk on some of those rumors that are flying around. Some Sam Cassell news. James Harden looking to likely sign that a 2-year deal. We'll give our thoughts on that and how that'll shape out, and how that could affect the rest of the roster, what it's going to look like next season. And Matisse Thybulle and Tobias Harris are, there's some rumors going around that they're, at least the Sixers are listening to trade offers for them, and those are certainly not untradeable guys. We can start there. Let's start with Matisse Thybulle and Tobias Harris, and I think, was Shake Milton also thrown into that maybe graphic that I saw? He
actually had, the Sixers are picking up his option. I believe it's like $2.3 million for the season. So a couple people were telling me, he might get traded. Well, I don't like to think that way because I love Shake Milton and I would love to see the Sixers. I would love to see him stay with the Sixers. So I'm just going to assume that they picked up his option because he's going to be on the roster because they like him as a player. Yeah. And if that's the decision they come to, I will fully back that.
Like I know you will fully support it.
Like I said, I love Shake Milton, so I see no issues.
Yeah.
And I believe that was yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, basically all of this stuff came out yesterday, which is crazy.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting, too. So we recorded, an episode last week talking about some of these things, and now they're kind of coming to life.
Yeah.
At least, we talked about, okay, will the Sixers pick up that option on Shake Milton? They did. Yeah. Will they be shopping Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris? The rumor is that they are a little bit, to the extent we don't know. And then last week you gave some really, really good stuff on Tobias Harris and your thoughts on, at what level does the offer need to be to shop him. Obviously the contract is huge for Tobias.
Yeah.
So we won't focus there quite as much unless you got some more to say there. But Matisse Thybulle's the other guy. I don't think we camped out on him enough last week. What's your thoughts on the Sixers allegedly listening to offers for him? What's it going to take? Is he a guy that needs to be a part of a bigger deal? Is he a guy we can swap a 1-for-1? Give your thoughts on that.
I would say the good thing about Thybulle and a potential deal is that I think you can make a swap if it's him and another player. You may have to attach a pick.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also think it's going to be more of a attaching Thybulle to maybe a Harris deal because depending on the team, I don't know that the contract is going to be so enticing enough to the point where other teams are going to take it. So I think depending on the team, I think you might have to attach Thybulle to that because if you get a team that says, hey, you know what? How's that Harris contract? Let's talk about the Harris contract.
Right.
If you have a team that's kind of already on the line, you could say, hey, you know what? We'll give you Thybulle as well. Make it a little more enticing because, again, teams still are looking for guys like Thybulle. Yes, offensive issues, but defensively, very well put together. Teams still want that kind of player, especially teams who are a lot more well equipped on offense to kind of mask his offensive issues. So I think it depends on the team, but I think he could probably be more well suited in a deal with another player, a guy like Harris or whatever other big contract guy you want to use as an example.
The name Lou Dort keeps going around, at least in where I've been, on Twitter or wherever. Yeah. Certainly, that doesn't look like that's a swap that could happen.
No.
Although I think we started last week. Someone made a mock trade or something where it was Dort and Thybulle. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Dort is very good. Mm-hmm. I would take him in a heartbeat. I just don't know what a trade for him would look like. What the scenario would have to be. Matisse is interesting because, again, if the Sixers make moves this year, trading, not signing free agents, but, decent-sized big moves with trades, he could very well be in one. Who do you think's more likely to go, Matisse or Tobias Harris? I think it's Matisse, certainly.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
Simply because I think the Sixers are a lot more willing to deal Thybulle. Again, mm-hmm. I think a lot of that having to do with the fact that they actually like Harris. Not saying they don't like Thybulle, but I think
less
Harris
frustrated.
I think Harris contributes a lot more to your team, which is why he's a bit more favorable in terms of who you want to keep and who you don't. But also the contract is going to make things a lot harder for the Sixers to actually move Harris, as opposed to Matisse, who's on a pretty, I guess you could say, friendly deal right now, and it's going to be a lot easier to move him.
Yeah, Tobias Harris, I love Tobias Harris, man.
Same, dude.
He had a very good year again. We say it all the time, but he's doing what Tobias Harris does in terms of production. Yeah. And he was, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he was very good in the playoffs. Very good in the playoffs.
He's consistently been one of the best players for the Sixers in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, we don't count the bubble, so I'm not going to bring it up. But 2019, he was good. 2021, last year, he was very good, especially against the Wizards. And this year, he was great as well. So, yes, the regular season stuff, especially this year, was not good. Well, it wasn't not good. It just wasn't great. But in the playoffs, undeniably, he's been one of the best players on the Sixers. So there's definitely some positives to that aspect. Because, again, you want your guys to show up and rise up for the playoffs. Right. So if Harris can at least do that, I think it makes things a lot easier in terms of how you look at him with the contract.
I've got a fun fact for you for Tobias Harris. Just found this out. I did not personally know this myself, so I'm not going to lie. I did not know. But Tobias Harris has played more games in a Sixers uniform than he has on any other team.
Wow. I think that's helped him a lot, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that. I knew it was close. I forgot how little of time he spent in LA, just 87 games. Mm-hmm. I knew he was in Orlando for a while. 205 games in Orlando, and now at least regular season, 234 games in a Sixers uniform. Wow. So he surpassed that a while ago. And that was something that we mentioned when Tobias signed the very large contract, that this was finally a team where he was going to stay for a while. And he has, and I think that has helped him. And again, we touched on it. He was very good in the playoffs. Regular season this year in 73 games, averaged about 17, 19 and 19 the previous couple years. He's just consistent. I mean, since 2015, his points per game, 16, 16, 18, 18, 19, 20, 21. Or, his time with LA, he had 21 through 55 games. 18, 19, 19, and 17. Yeah. It's Tobias Harris.
And, again, Orlando, Milwaukee, Detroit, LA, Philly. I mean, this dude's been, what is that, 6 teams? That's, especially when you're a guy trying to find a rhythm, you need somewhere. I mean, this goes for really any player, but you need somewhere you can really set your feet and say, all right, let me really settle in, let me really dial myself in and get into a groove of developing my game and really just working on consistency. And that's something that I think you just touched on it, but that's something that that's happened. He's really found and developed his himself, but also a role as a player in the league.
Yeah. Wow, another fun fact. I'm looking at Basketball Reference on Tobias Harris. His only playoff experience prior to Philadelphia was 2015-2016 with Detroit, assuming they were the 8 seed. I believe I remember that year. I think they were an 8 seed and played Cleveland. They got swept. So he had 4 career playoff games before coming to Philadelphia. And he has now played 44 total playoff games.
Wow. 44 playoff games. Wow.
Yeah, and 40 of that with the Sixers. He's been in the league a long time, and he hasn't been on the Sixers a long time. So, to your point, he was on some not so good teams.
Great teams, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's figured out his role on the Sixers. Mm-hmm. It's funny, we said we were going to talk about Matisse, now we're talking about Tobias, but
well, I mean, we kind of said, we
yeah.
kind of said what we had to say about Matisse. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. So, Tobias Harris, he shot 38% from 3, 39% during this year's playoffs.
Sniper.
Yeah, he was 50% from the field. He was solid.
How many attempts from 3 in the playoffs? Like, how many did he take?
Total across the 12
he averaged how many?
Games.
Yeah,
across 12 playoff games, he had 57 total attempts. So a little less than 5.
Does it say per game? 5 per game?
That's a little less than 5. Yeah.
That's solid. That's very solid.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Interesting, fun stuff. Tobias Harris. Okay. Anywho, where else shall we go? So James Harden.
Yep.
Is what's the deal there?
So from what I'm like 90% sure that I saw it correctly. He's getting a 2-year deal. He's still getting the $47 million, but it's only going to be 2 years as opposed to, maybe 3 or 4. So ultimately, you would have wanted him to take less money. However, him signing for less time also equates to less money. So instead of signing for less money for longer, he's signing basically the same for less. So it's for shorter. So it's kind of this. I guess it's the next best thing as opposed to him signing $47 million for like 4 years. That would be yikes. Well, not yikes, but definitely not friendly for the Sixers to go after other players. But
yeah,
I think it stems from probably. I mean, I guess who signs contracts? Daryl Morey, the owners, whatever. Josh Harris,
sure,
all those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's whoever makes the decision is probably a little
Morey.
hesitant.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, probably is a little hesitant to give him more years for obvious reasons. I mean, we were all aware of how this playoffs went. I think he needs more time to prove himself as a healthy player, if you will.
Right.
So I think this will help a lot for Harden and for the Sixers. So I don't mind it. I obviously wanted to bring Harden back. Any rational Sixers fan also wanted Harden to be back. So it's good. Inherently overall it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard someone his age to give a massive contract to in terms of years, and so it feels safer. Any contract for anybody ever, it's always, I feel like, more safe if you give them lower, because you just don't know what's going to happen in this world. You don't know in the sports world. So, yeah, obviously you give young guys big contracts for the sole purpose you don't want them to leave when their contract ends. But, Yeah, good to have James back, of course. And what do you think that does for the Sixers, just in terms of their flexibility with? Now there's limited. You've talked about it, I think, on Trust the Love. I mean, there's limited things that the Sixers can do. Bless you. There's limited
Thank
things
you.
the Sixers can do with cap space and whatnot. But having James on a 2-year deal as opposed to a mega, super max, whatever. What is that? What do you think that does for the Sixers?
Well, I think it obviously opens up a little bit more long-term cap flexibility. I think, what does Harris have? 1 more year on his deal?
Jeez.
2 years?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
I'm not exactly sure, but whenever Harris's deal expires, Harden's deal is going to expire, if not at the same time, then shortly after. So it's going to give the Sixers a ton of cap space, whether it's to sign Harden to a lesser deal, whether it's to sign Harris to a lesser deal, whether it's to sign other players, whether it's to sign one or the other, again, or both. Yeah. It's going to give them options, which they don't really have right now. Yeah. So I think it's good for that reason. For any of those reasons alone, I think it's fantastic, actually.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, they'll be expiring. Tobias, did he sign a 4 or 5 year deal?
I have no idea when Harris's deal expires, but like I said, whenever
it's in a year or two. Yep,
it is in a year.
We do know that because he's been here. He came as in the trade, and then after that offseason, we gave him the deal.
Yeah,
and then he's played 3 seasons on that deal, so it's either 1 or 2. I just forget if he signed a 4 or 5 year deal.
Yeah, so Harris deal expires. Hey, Tobias, great player. We'd love to have you back. However, would you mind taking less money? We gave you $120 million. Would you like to take less money? Just help out the team. I think that's an easier of an ask than with James Harden. However, whenever that conversation does take place, the Sixers are going to have the option again. Hey, bring back Harris. Let him walk. What's the deal? Either way, if you're the Sixers, you want to have cap space. Because guess what? Again, like we're talking about, James Harden will be a free agent again in a year. So, do we want to have much more flexibility? Are we okay with having Harden ask for another contract and ask for the same deal? Do we want less? They're going to have a ton of more options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Tobias Harris does have 2 years remaining on that deal.
Oh, he does have 2.
2 years.
So then they'll expire at the same time then.
Yes.
So then either way,
right.
Both guys are going to expire. Hey, listen, guys, we want to bring you guys back. But listen, we really need cap flexibility. So we're going to ask that you re-sign.
Right. You either take less or with the cap room that we got, if you're not here, then we go make moves.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, I had not really thought of that, but that's good. And it's just funny, another fun fact, Tobias Harris, if you just Google Tobias Harris contract and hit on news, there's, just on the first page alone, it's like within the last 3 days of posts saying, stuff about trades, 3 realistic Tobias Harris trade targets, possible trade destinations for 76ers forward Tobias Harris, Sixers exploring trades involving Tobias Harris, Sixers gauging trade interest for Tobias Harris. There's a lot, and that's just when you search Tobias Harris contract, because obviously that's probably in the first paragraph is the only reason that they would possibly shop him is because of the contract. Right. But I mean, I think, I'm not a genius, I'm not in the front office, but this James Harden 2-year thing certainly helps Tobias Harris' likelihood to stay, or maybe I'm completely wrong. But to me, it seems like it does, and you just made that make sense for me, given that they're both will be expiring at the same time. So, all that being said, Sixers assistant coach Sam Cassell, will he be here at the start of next season? What's the rumors in that world?
Well, apparently the Jazz were calling about signing him to the vacancy that Quinn Snyder left. And what I have to say, really the only thing I have to say is that the Sixers need to do everything in their power to have him stay with them, because as we've seen in the past, multiple assistant coaches have left and become fantastic head coaches on championship, well, actually not winning, but championship level, championship caliber teams, literally 2 years in a row. Well, I'm trying to think. Yeah. Well, 2 years in a row. Monty Williams with the Suns last year. Ime Udoka this year with the Celtics. As we speak, they're playing right now. So the Sixers can. They really. There's no. I mean, if there's any way they can intervene on that, listen, hey guys, we want to have Sam Cassell with the team, with the organization. So please go somewhere else. That needs to be explored. Because the Sixers, they can't let that happen again. They finally have another assistant coach who's really good, who could probably be a head coach, elsewhere, who has a great relationship with the players. There's no reason to let this dude go unless it's absolutely necessary, which I don't think there's any scenario that it is, and honestly, I don't.
Yeah, and
unless it's like an absurd amount of money that the Jazz are offering.
Or if Sam is super eager to go and he sees the writing on the wall that Glenn is here to stay for X amount of years.
That too.
There could be obviously some internal workings there, because if I know I can go coach somewhere else and I know I'm not going to be, I have no shot of being the head coach here for the next 7 years or whatever, then I'm going. But if whatever's going on internally, he knows that, here in a year or two, he could possibly take this team and step into that role, then maybe he stays. So we don't know. But I would, we'd certainly love to have him. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, great relationship with players and just a good rapport among the league. And so we would certainly love to keep him on our sideline. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. 3 minutes to go. Warriors up 12. Looks like we're going to have Dub Nation winning it again.
I'm just glad. Now, listen, Celtics fans are still going to talk. Dude, I get messages from Celtics fans almost every day.
Really?
Just messaging me. They'll send me posts that other Celtics fan or on other, Celtics pages post about the Sixers. I can't believe the Sixers drafted Markelle Fultz over Jason Tatum. Why are you even bringing that up?
Shut up. Yeah.
Your team's in the finals.
5 years ago.
Focus on that. Celtics fans are so concerned with a team that's not even in the playoffs right now, let alone the finals.
Rent-free, baby.
Finals. It's insane. And I don't say anything. I don't even provoke them. I just get messages almost every day. I can go through my messages right now and I can find at least one or two Celtics fans every day, replying to my story, sending me posts.
As soon as the clock goes all zeros in this game, you should just go like all of those messages. Don't say anything. Just like the messages.
I'm just like, what is your deal?
Wow.
So Celtics fans are already, we can have some choice words for Celtics fans another time, but they're gonna be even worse now because, they're in the finals. They didn't almost win, but they made the finals. Oh, the Sixers haven't made the finals. Whatever. So.
All right. So I know we both want to see the ending of that. So, real quickly,
okay,
I'm going to hit on this post from Sixers Hot Takes. Shout out to him. You know the guy. I don't know him. You know him. But big shout out to Sixers Hot Takes. He had a cool little roster breakdown. He gave his thoughts on who's staying, who's going, who he is a wild card, those kind of things. Who's going nowhere? He had Joel Embiid, obviously. Locks to be back. Tyrese Maxey, James Harden. Agree with that. A couple guys that he says could be dealt via a trade, but assuming they'll be back, is Tobias Harris and George Niang. And then there were a couple interesting sections. I'm not going to read through everything, but one was this. It was a wild card section. And he said this. He said, I expect only one of these guys to be on the team next season. I'm just not sure which one. So only one of these four guys. So I'm going to have you, for the fun of it, answer that question. Answer he doesn't know who it's going to be. So we got Danny Green, Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, and Isaiah Joe in that section.
It's funny because I had seen this post as well. And I was thinking to myself, I was thinking, who is going to be here? If we had to choose one guy from that list, who will it be? Part of me wants to say Isaiah Joe because, I don't see him getting moved at all. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why the Sixers would move him unless it's to, again, we talked about earlier, adding in enticing younger guys into the deal, into the trade.
Right.
So I don't see him getting traded unless for that. But part of me wants to say like Danny Green. I mean, are they really going to trade Danny Green? Like, what will they get back? What team wants that? It's not like they're really unloading a contract. He's only making $10 million a year.
Right.
So part of me wants to say Isaiah Joe, but part of me wants to say Danny Green. And I'd love to say Furk, because I love Furkan as well. As you can't see, but I have a poster of Furkan on my wall. But I don't know why they trade Furkan again, unless it's like, hey, listen, we really like Furkan. We need some shooting off the bench. I don't know if they're gonna trade him either. Like, I think there's question marks for all these guys, but I think the biggest ones come with Danny Green and Isaiah Joe. So
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think Isaiah Joe is the safe one to say that he'll be here. If you had to pick one of the four to be here and you have money on it, you'd probably say Isaiah Joe.
I'd probably say Isaiah Joe, yeah.
Just because he's not in the rumors as much, he's not talked about as much, he's Danny Green is the question because because of the injury.
Right, exactly.
I mean, what the heck is his future in this league going to look like? And is it in Philadelphia? I heard someone say retire, like he could retire. Although he said he's not. I believe he said that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that is not a fun injury. It's certainly not a fun injury to have in the playoffs, and then that means a shorter recovery time. You're going to miss games. I mean, best case scenario, he's like back in the middle of the season or something, right? Is that...
Mm-hmm.
Am I off on that? I think that's true.
I mean, what is it, ACL? And what is it, MCL or something?
For a guy in his mid-30s.
Achilles? Yeah.
I mean, who's going to trade for him?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what a team would really gain from trading for him. I mean, again.
Right, and unfortunately, his trade value is very low compared to what it was before the injury, certainly.
Right, and the thing is, too, like, the Sixers, they're not, it's not like they're going to be dumping his contract, because he's only making $10 million a year. So, it's not that much money, and it's like, what team is going to want? We can draw some similarities with the whole, Tobias Harris thing, but what team really wants him?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's interesting. I hate to say it. I don't know if I want him. I don't know. To miss that much time that he's gonna miss, and
if he can play the way he played a couple weeks ago, well, it's like a month at this point.
I'm just nervous as to how he's gonna recover from this.
Yeah.
I hope he recovers well wherever he is. You know what I mean? But it's just tough. I feel bad for him. To have that at the early on in Game 6, so we'll see. So always wanted to say this: Golden State Warriors finals champions.
Let's go.
And you know what that means? That means everybody's officially 0-0. So we're starting next season off, baby. We're all tied for first. Sixers are top of the standings. Life is good. And any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Nah, go Sixers. You know how it goes. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast. Again, we're gonna be dropping some off-season content, as you already know. But that's all. That's all I got.
That's right. As you know, be on the lookout for more episodes. We'll still likely be dropping every week, at the very least every other week during the off season. And drafts coming up. Got some guests lined up.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be good. Go Sixers. We're ready. We're ready for next season, dude. 0-0. Let's go.
Everyone's tied. That's go, right, man.
Peace. Are you on Instagram? Why don't you go give us a follow at Planet76 Podcast so you can be in the know when we drop new episodes. Thanks for listening to this one, and we'll see you next time.